values coaches. When we covered core action value number 12, leadership, I made the point, I emphasized the point that management is a job title, a job description, but leadership is a life decision. And that any of us can, in fact we should in many occasions, act in the role of leader. Now I want to read to you a quote. This is from the McKinsey Quarterly, current edition 2020. The article, it's an interview with 3 military leaders, and the article is called The War on Coronavirus. And Eric Olson, a retired U.S. Navy admiral, said this, and I quote, "A leader has to be visible. Culture and morale and standards all depend on the leader, and none of those can be sacrificed in a crisis." And here's the key point. "A culture left untended will go someplace that the leader does not intend for it to go, does not want it to go, and once it does, it is impossible to get back." Well, we're in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic. We're all wearing face masks. We're all standing 6 feet apart. We're all doing Zoom meetings. How do we stay visible? And I think that's your challenge. That's my challenge. How do we stay visible in our organizations? How do we provide the kind of leadership that we as values coaches need to provide in order to keep our cultures positive? You know, we've been doing culture assessment surveys with a number of hospitals, and one of the questions I've added is, how is the COVID-19 pandemic affecting your organization's culture? And this is astonishing. By a margin of more than 2 to 1, responses to that open question have been positive. We're seeing better teamwork. We're seeing a spirit of fellowship. People are coming up with creative ideas to deal with PPE shortages and things like that. And the question is, how do we enhance those positive things? How do we reduce the impact of the negative things? Because people are emotionally drained. They are physically exhausted. They are anxious and worried about their families and their futures. How do we, as values coaches, how do we help people cope with the uncertainty and the anxiety and the worry? But how do we make sure that all those good things, the fellowship, the initiative, the teamwork, the leadership, how do we make sure that those things survive once the pandemic is in the rearview mirror? And that is a role that we as values coaches, no matter what our job title, we as values coaches, through our example, through our encouragement of others, through our practicing the 12 core action values and the Pickle Pledge and the Self-Empowerment Pledge, that's a way we can have an impact on our colleagues, on our communities, and on our organizations. So next week I have a very special message about values and values-based leadership. I will see you then.